Tinkosi Talk Shows, Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. So with me today, I'm with Carol Ann Cooper and Shireen Lovegrove. How are you ladies?
But brilliant, thank you.
Yeah,
And
very
you?
good, thanks.
I am well, thank you. So the topic today is the rebirth of self. Who are you becoming this season? So every season brings with it a quiet invitation, an invitation to release, to reflect, and to rise. Just as nature shared old to make space for you, we are called to evolve. So the question isn't just about what you are doing, it's about who you are becoming. So Carol Ann, you chose this topic. What was on your mind when you chose this topic? Is there something that is there any rebirth going on in your life?
Oh, definitely. Interesting you say that, because having set the topic last night for today, I had a conversation with somebody this morning about some coaching calls following up from the course I did the other week. And I'm going to have them all sort of, this 6 of them, we're going to have them quite close together. And I just went, this is perfect because it's about birthing my business. And anyway, there is that birthing going on. And so rebirth, I just thought, yeah, it feels very pertinent for where I'm at the moment. But when I chose the title, I was thinking about the season and about how, spring coming. I've been watching all the new flowers popping up, and they just pop up in their time, one after the other. First there's you get like snowdrops, then you get the daffodils, then you get primroses, then you get bluebells, and it's like they all come in their own time, popping up, rebirthing. And so I thought, what a great concept or metaphor for us to perhaps look at. What are we rebirthing? Who are we becoming in this season? Because spring is about sort of coming back to life again, isn't it? And it's not that you've been dead, it's just there's a sleeping, there's a holding back, opening up into the world to be seen. And that's really where I'm birthing it myself. It's like, okay. And I think that ties in with you, Shireen, doing your lives. Every day there's I'm here. To me, that's how I see it. There's an opening up and showing yourself more, and the truth of yourself and what you're about. So I just thought, what a great topic for us to explore. Because spring does symbolize growth, rebirth, and renewal. So, it's about, well, what are we shedding that no longer serves us? Maybe a great time to just reassess our habits, our beliefs, our patterns, and make some changes. I think there is one quote. No, there's something I wrote down. It'll come back. about change. I'll find it. But yeah, so Shireen, what were your thoughts when you saw that? I mean, did anything
I was going
come
to quickly
mind?
say, yes, the idea or the quote will rebirth itself in a minute.
Absolutely.
Because yeah, there is something about the nature of the seasons, and on the lives that I've been doing, I've been really talking about energy and the metaphysics of energy, or the alchemy that comes with it. And there's something that, like, the spring is the change that's happened, the transformation that's happened from the previous time, isn't it? It's what happened in the winter was things died down, the energy went really quite dead, almost dormant. And it's kind of like a time for that part of ourselves, or that aspect of life, to begin a process with stuff that's no longer dead wood, right? Stuff that is now that's new and invigorated. And it doesn't start like really. The rebirthing is a gentle kind of thing, isn't it? It's coming in very gently, and then you almost get this kind of shoot that people think, oh, that happened very fast. But actually, the initial part of rebirthing is slow. And as a pregnancy coach, when a baby's born, it's very seldom does the baby just come straight away live. Normally there's a process of pre-labor, and then you go into labor, and then you get this absolute opening up before the baby decides, hey, I'm going to be born right now, right? And then it starts with the head, and then it slowly moves, and it restitutes, and it waits a bit, and then it comes out in a swoop. Normally there at that point it's going to come out. So I think there's something about this initial stage of the rebirth, and then there's this big stage of rebirth. It's almost like, I feel it's like a double entendre, really, or a kind of a double sort of act. So yes, and I guess with the lives and things like that, when we're doing or rebirthing ourselves or redoing something, we often find that the initial first stages, and I found within the group that I'm also doing this live with, is everyone was doing it really gently and slowly and not quite sure what to do. But by the time we're getting into sort of day 6, 7, people are really shifting and moving forward and opening up and expressing themselves and finding all sorts of things that they're speaking about. So it's really quite interesting to see that, I suppose, the structure of rebirth for me. Which I really like, and I think it's like anything else. I think when we mustn't just think of it as a rebirth, as in the idea that something new necessarily is coming in, but often it is about this momentum that starts and comes into beingness. So the question of what you kind of suggested that came in is, who are we becoming? Just the act of the becoming means there's something before the coming, right?
Yes.
So I'm becoming. I haven't completed yet. I'm just becoming. So I think there's something there that I'm going to reflect into and lean into, because it's, the play in words, but I think also there is something about that the alchemy of that, which really does interest me quite a lot. So yeah, that'll be a bit of self-reflection and contemplation coming in. Namsa, what's it resonating for you?
I like that, Shireen and Carol, on your perspective of rebirth. And yeah, I think for me, I would say it's just about sitting back and pausing everything and reflect, because we are very busy. We lead a busy life. So sometimes it's nice to pause, reflect, take inventory of where we are, which Carol Ann said about ourselves. What am I holding on to that feels heavy or outdated, which Carol Ann, you mentioned as well. And we can ask ourselves, where are we living as autopilot? And thoughts and habits and roles that no longer serves our evolutions. So it's really bad. At the same time, you have to be honest. You have to have a clarity in that stillness. And through that stillness, that's when Shireen with the rebirth comes in with the baby, when the baby's born and stuff. That's when everything comes in. But sometimes people want these, like, there are few who can go into stillness. I've learned to go into stillness. Really, and I've realized that when you go to stillness, sometimes it pays off, because you let go of things that needs to go, and then you rebirth, the new ones come forward. So yeah, I agree with you. Carol Ann, why are you challenging us these days? You seem to be really challenging us with this topic.
Okay. And
check you out. Check you out. Carol Ann is on fire.
And what's life without a few challenges to help you grow?
Yeah.
You know, and to help you actually, and it's not just about growing, it's about what we're saying here, reflecting. It's
Mm.
about thinking and something just nudging you out of your comfortableness,
Mm.
you know, because you just can get so comfortable and it just becomes, sometimes going to be mundane, but it's just so comfortable. You're not really thinking. You become a zombie and you just do things automatically. So it's that automatum. Um, so yeah, let's have a little bit of a jolt and start thinking and really think, well, what are we doing with our lives? Where are we going? And sometimes in relationships, they can get very much that stagnant
Mm.
complacency. I think that's the word, isn't it? You become complacent. So yeah, that's why I like choosing these topics to just get us to think, and then hopefully, yeah, you know, our listeners will start thinking. Something will just resonate and go, oh, it's time to stop, pause, reflect. What am I doing with my life? Where is it? Where is it going? But also recognize, well, what challenges are coming? Because I loved what you said, Shireen, about the rebirthing. It's just very gentle, gentle. And it is that last, you know, that like with the buds in the trees and the flowers, they're very tight and all of a sudden, ping, they're open. And it is as if it's a sudden explosion, a sudden thing that happens, but it isn't. It's like this gradual, gradual. But what we see is the beauty of the blossom. That's what draws our attention. And that what makes it, oh, wow. So this is what's happening here. It's like, who are you becoming? That is that blossom that's that, whoa, people go, wow, who is this person? Who is that person that is there out in the world? You know, the one that's been hiding. And the quote that I was looking for is, your life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. Jim Rohn. And things do change. And I think we're so frightened of change. I know I've got my Sainsbury's account. They're being taken over by NatWest. And I'm going, no, no, no. You know, and it's like, what's going on here? I'm so used to having that account. I don't want someone else to have it. It's like, well, what's going to happen to it? Is it going to change? But all that's changing is the name. It's still going to be my account. It's a savings account that I've had for years. But that account saw me through really dark times when all my other bank accounts got, you know, left me because the situation I was in financially. I still had that savings account. And that's what saw me through, because it meant, oh, that's where money could come in. If I could only access it through the cash point. There was no, they don't have a shop, you know, or a front, what's the word, a building to go to. But it gave me that avenue for money to come in. And so I guess in that sense, there's that preciousness to it of memory. And I think here, this is where, when we're talking about this, is a letting go that needs to happen. I need to look at letting go of that in the sense of, okay, it can still have money going in, but it's just under another umbrella. It's not Sainsbury's anymore. Being NatWest. So, and if I choose not to let it, you know, go together, and I've got 3 or 4 other accounts now. I have accounts, so you know, it's like things have grown, and it's not like I don't have any other option anymore. So I think it is looking at that, as you said, the deadwood, what is no longer serves us anymore. And that's where this just sitting still, reflecting, and where are you resisting the change? Because that's where it can then get painful. Just relaxing, going with the changes, and trusting the timing. That's something I know I've had big issues with, and trust has been something that I've deepened in, and now I'm realizing another aspect to it is trusting the timing, and the timing of blossoming will be perfect. It will be the right proper time, because the flowers and the blooms don't go, oh, it's not my time, or I want to be out there quicker. They come with the nurturing of the season, and sometimes they come a little bit earlier, sometimes a little bit later. It depends on the weather. So you've got the sun, you've got the rain, you've got the warmth or the cold that either brings them on quicker or just maybe that bit slower. So again, it's the environment that you're in. So maybe have a look at your environment. Is there anything in your environment that maybe is still reflecting winter? And so going, oh no, it's not time to come out yet. And really exploring that and looking at it and saying, well, actually, is that the truth? Or does that need to be around me in my environment? And making a change for that. So what in your environment is there? Maybe there's a load of clutter that you've become so used to, or maybe you want to use, like I'm wanting to use my desks here, and they're so cluttered, but I'm going, because there's one desk I want to use for a different purpose. And I'm going, but I need it just here with my diary on. And then I'm thinking, well, actually, I could use some other things. I've got whole boxes. So why don't I stack the boxes up beside me if all it needs to be is for my diary? The table can then be freed up. So it's just looking at things in a different way. What can you move around that will free up that space and allow things to be utilized in a different way? So that's what's sort of here for me at the moment. But certainly I've forgotten where I went and where I've been, but all of that obviously wanted to come out. It's just giving birth to ideas, allowing them to spring forth and be seen, be heard. So that's where I'm at and what is here for me. Yeah, allowing my ideas to spring forth. So using that word, it's springtime. Play with the words.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I think, Caroline, what you said there was quite profound, and I think something we really need to keep in our mind is, yes, there is the beauty of the blossom, but never underscore the amount of effort and energy that goes into that space before. And I started to think about children with milestones, right? We think about at 7 they can do this, and actually, I mean, Piaget did actually categorize, famous pediatrician categorized milestones in kids, right? And what we think is at 7 this is happening, but we forget they are actually, their brains, their bodies are developing, and all that time until that point when the spring happens, right? When all of a sudden something changes. It's like the other day I was busy doing a whole lot of stuff on my computer, and I thought, hey, how come I can do that? How come I've not done this one before? It just seems so easy.
Yeah.
But that's all the other work that I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
that was hard, right? And it was
Right.
not because I enjoyed doing it. I didn't necessarily think it had been that hard. But actually, when I came back and I realized something and changed, I thought, oh, those neural connections must have been made now. So I think it is. Don't underscore what's done in the unconscious or in the hidden form. And that's the part that we've got to do, right? We've got to do all the stuff so that that hidden form can begin to take seed and begin to blossom, to begin that thrust or that burst towards that fullness, which is what we're, or the newness, or not the fullness. Well, the fullness probably is in the summer when fruit starts, right? So maybe it's more the fullness of ourself before we go into the next kind of space. So that was what was really triggering for me well, not triggering, it was kind of resonating deeply for me while you were doing that, and trust in that process of time and the timing. And then that reminded me a little bit of Claire Zamet's work with feminine power, where we always look at what's in season to work on. So if someone comes into transformation, we look at what's in season, and that's where the biggest burst or the biggest thrust is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like everyone has ideas of what they want, and there's these different categories, like something to do with your family, something to do, like very much what you see on the wheel of life, the wheel of
Mm-hmm.
life. You want to look at what's in season there. So the area which you connect to, resonate with very deeply, that's the one that's probably going to be the area you need to focus on, because that's where you're going to get the most maximum purchase. And what it means is that every other area will start to get better. So if you start to work on your relationships, for example, that opens you up. That becomes the transformation or the catalyst of opening you up, which then becomes an attractor for business, right? Strangely enough, it never just happens on the one area that you're focusing on, but you need the energy so that focus, that space will have the biggest catalytic effect for the whole of the system, not just the one you're focusing on. So I think that's something that really started to resonate when we were talking about what was in the hidden, but we really need to focus on what's in the desire. So what's in the desire, so that the energy can begin to have that shift. And so when we're thinking of rebirthing self, it really is about going in and finding that yearning and that desire. What am I longing for that I want to change? Or what am I longing for what am I longing for? Pure stop. Maybe not necessarily the idea of the change first, but what do I want? What do I really deeply, deeply desire, right? And once we get what we really deeply desire, we've now got an attractor that's going to start to fire up the energy for us, so that we can begin this process towards the rebirth, this process. Because it doesn't just happen, does it? We've got to go into the space where we're going to narrow down in, get rid of the rubbish before we can rebirth ourselves. And I guess I'm also thinking, how do we do this on a daily basis, right? We've got a perfect thing. We wake up in the morning. We are rebirthing the day, right?
Yes, yeah.
And every day, if we treat the day as a rebirth, that means that we're automatically conditioning ourselves to a newness that's happening within us. And I think that's something, and I think metaphorically, most of us will say, we'll start tomorrow, or we'll start tomorrow morning, right? If I'm ever going to start my fasting again, which I do, I mean, I'm back into my thing. I always go Monday morning. Monday morning, that's my new me starting Monday morning. Because you have the darkness of the night, right? The night where you sleep, you're rested, and you wake up in the morning and you go, right, okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready. This is how I'm going to go. Or before you go to bed, you say, I'm going to prepare and then start. And I think that is really pivotal when we start thinking about, how transforming ourselves, and recognizing that sometimes we have to put the focus where it really needs to be focused in order that we can become more. So how do we rebirth our relationship? Well, we have to rebirth ourselves, right? We have to rebirth ourselves first. And then how do we then connect in that relationship? And what needs to have happened for us to be able to do the rebirthing? We need to understand that it is a kind of continuum that will have to happen. And so like you were saying, Carol, okay, I want to be on that desk. Okay, I'll get my boxes. Okay, so you've got the idea. We haven't got action yet, but we're starting to get desire, right?
Yes.
The desire is coming, and we have an image, and we go, oh yeah, that'll be good. Let's start thinking. Let's be excited about the idea, right? Oh yeah, that'd be nice. Well, I can imagine a nice clean desk, right? that's when the desire starts to come, right? And
Mm.
so then the next part is, as that builds, it activates enough energy for us to start taking an action, whether it be big or small. But it's that whole sequencing that I think is a rebirth sequence, right? And when
I
we
just want to pop in. I love that word because people often say, "Where's your motivation?" But actually, that word desire,
Mm.
I think it's even deeper, and that's is the that gives the motivation, the push.
Mm.
So it's really, I love that word. So I'm going to use that word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think there's desire, but there's and what I mean, I suppose a more feminine word from feminine power is really saying, what's your yearning? What is the yearning that you're longing for, right? Because those are very emotive words, much more emotive than desire. What is the yearning? Because we yearn, we're cleaving towards it. In spiritual terms, we're cleaving. We're trying to move away from the rubbish to try and just go solely to the spirit, right? We cleave, we take away. So that's what it is. And it's not just taking away. Cleaving is like literally grabbing the other, right? It's got a whole big connotation. So this is when we go for what we're yearning for, or we're cleaving towards it, we're already focusing all our energy, all the available energy towards that. And that makes it so much easier and so much better. And if we do that for a relationship, it really does help us step away from the stuff that sabotages us. And we start to look at the purity of what we want in that relationship, the purity in the gift that we want to give ourselves and we want to give someone else in that relationship. Because we are the gift.
Yes.
We are the gift to them and they're their gift to us, right? Our essence.
Yeah. I agree with you, ladies. Carol Ann, you said, where are we resisting the change? The question that we need to ask ourselves, and also trusting the timing. I think the timing is always good. There are things that I wanted to do before, but I just went, let me hold on to them. I just felt like the timing wasn't right. And I just hold on to them. I just put them on the side. Last week I went back and I was like, okay, I think now I'm ready to do that. So I think the timing is always good to I like Shireen when you said you went on your computer and you were like, oh, I can do this, or I can do that. It means that your brain you've been developing the skills. And then now you are like a pro. So you're like, oh, I didn't realize I can do this. So that is really,
I
really
know,
good.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
I was going, oh my God.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I think first thing we have to do is reconnect with our core, uh, and strip away all of the expectations and listen to our inner voice. Because for me, when I take away all the expectations, I find I get to where I need to be at that moment where I ask myself, who am I when people are not watching me, when everyone else is not watching me? What values matter to me most in this moment? And what version of myself feels most aligned and free? And I don't write things down. You're meant to write things down in journal everything and meditate. But for me, I communicate with the Holy Spirit. I ask the Holy Spirit to actually interpret the things that I don't understand. And but I have to remove my expectations because my expectations become distraction. So once I remove my expectations, and then I know where I need to be, and that's when the new Nomsa is reborn. And that's how I get creative, and that's how I get things done. I get new things done. And one of the guys was sending me a message saying, Nomsa, I need you to teach me how to dance. I was like, I can't teach you how to dance. And it was like, why? And I was like, I get taught by the Holy Spirit. Uh, I don't have to learn the steps. For me, what I do is I play the music because it's my gift. I play the music and then I just go to the place where I need to be. That was the Nomsa that was rebirthed that I didn't know about her. So which is all good. I think for us human beings, we need to learn to challenge ourselves like Carol Ann, she's been challenging us. She's been giving us these powerful topics every Tuesday and we challenge ourselves. And we're not just like talking about the topic here because you have to take everything and practice it as well. So, which is, it gave us challenge, it help us to grow, to be something like different, to grow and be who God created us to be, which is really good. I like that.
Oh, lovely. Hi. And who is it? Something Shireen said, you said about Flossie, you mentioned fruit and then sort of went over it. And I think what we need to realize is that actually remember that the fruit comes from the blossom. So the blossoming has to happen before the fruit can come. So have we been attempting to find the fruits of our labors before we've actually blossomed to allow the fruits to form
Yes.
and be there? That's what came to me, and I heard that. I thought, oh, yeah. So it's the blossoming that comes first, not the fruit. And so, yeah, that's just a thought there. And something about what doing on it.
And it does it, and just to say, it needs
Mm,
more than just blossoming, doesn't it? It needs
yes,
fertilization,
that's right.
right?
That went to my head and I didn't say it. Yes, thank you.
So I
Absolutely.
think, it's
Yeah, you
great
need
that
the
you brought that
bees
up.
and the everything
So
there for
there's
the
processes, yeah?
yep.
And I
Yeah.
love it because the bees have to come. So that means we need these connections with other things. So it's got to be a wider network and a wider thing
Yes. Yeah.
so that that you want over here. So when you think, oh yes, I want that and that, we think, oh, we can just achieve it. But actually it's not the case. We need more. We need much
Yes.
more. And we need the environment that's surrounding us to be there to support us.
That's right. And I love, you're saying about the bees coming, the pollination, cross-pollination is like, this is why letting people into your business or into your life allows for that fertilization, that nurturing, that cross-pollination so that things can actually, you can get the fruit can develop from it. The blossoming doesn't just blossom and then just die away and then there's nothing. So I love that. Yeah. So letting people into my business, into my world, into the workshops, it's like that's what will help it to actually bear fruit.
Yeah.
It'll blossom and then the fruit will form. Wow.
And when we're talking about being and
Interesting.
becoming, how are you being?
Yes. Yeah.
So this bee is really doing its work.
Absolutely. So I think there's a question here. Is like, is there a part of you, sort of maybe something to look back at that's being dormant that you're ready to nurture and revive this season? And I think that ties in with what you were saying, Shireen, about the wheel of life.
Yeah.
Which aspect calls you, if you look at it and with that question in your mind and see which section
I like
calls you
that.
to work on, to say, well, that's been a bit dormant. Let's work on that. Because that's, as you say, by reviving and nurturing that one, it doesn't let all the others suddenly diminish. It actually strengthens and allows them to blossom even more. And maybe some of those will actually come to fruition, other areas of your life that you hadn't even thought about, um, working on. It is, as you say, there's a knock-on effect. So yeah, have a look at that wheel of life, the different sections. And it is called the Wheel of Life, so people can just look it up and Google it and get the there's loads of pictures, and there's loads of there's a basic set of sections, but some people do slightly different ones or add ones in and increase it. But six or eight areas of life to look at. Just have a look at it and say, well, which part of me has been dormant? Which area in my life has been dormant? And actually, you know, it's actually ready to be nurtured this season. And this is the season of spring, so it's that season of allowing it to perhaps to come to blossom. It's that thinking, it's that sort of metaphor that's here, isn't it? About it blooming, or allowing it to come to bloom. And there was another question that I've sort of seen, is like thinking about what emotional or mental winter are you emerging from? So what has it been like? And for me, what happened on Sunday in talking to a productivity coach, I realized I'd had literally got this tangled mess of my life, my business, my money, my business money, my money. It was just literally this grey, entangled mess that I just could not somehow separate. And in the conversation that we had around that, and literally just focusing on my business money and how to organize that and look at that. And one simple comment that he made, which I've probably heard before, but the time was right for me to hear it and really hear it, but also see it with what we were doing, because he uses post-it notes and we can move them around, and it was brilliant. But it's, your business is a separate entity to you. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I could split it out. I looked at my money differently, and so there's my business, there's myself, there's my business money, there's my personal money. And all of a sudden it started, it's detangled in that conversation. So for me, that is what I'm emerging from. I've realized is that's been my emotional winter, my mental winter. And it's been there for a long time, you know, ever since I actually stepped into or stepped out of employment into self-employment. It's been there. So, you know, do recognize that that mental or emotional winter isn't necessarily just a few months. It can have been there for years. And now is the time for it to just start to be opened up and move out of, and actually detangle, get rid of the old thoughts, because I've now realized there was thoughts that were there. I've let them go. And then there was something I was just allowing myself. I really had that thought today. It just came to me. I just went, oh. And even though I've heard other people say it, I haven't been able to live it. But I just felt it here with me. It's build my business as I live it. Whereas I've had this picture in my head that it's got to be built. No, if it's not built, I can't be doing it. So if I haven't got the documentation, I haven't got the paperwork, I haven't got the courses set up, then I can't run my business. I can't talk to people about it. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, if I haven't got a bit of paperwork and I need it, I can generate it in the moment, you know, can't I? I don't, you know, just say, well, I'll get back to you, I'll generate that. It's like all of a sudden it was here with me. I can build my business as I live it. And that was a completely different frame of mind. So I really feel like I'm letting go of that winter of that mental winter around business and my life and money. So certainly, I guess with a part of me that's been dormant and I'm nurturing is finances.
Mm.
And actually, that was something I said a few months ago with my sister. We said, right, more robust financing or something like that, you know, diligent around finances. And so I just feel that things are clearing. So notice how when you set an intention, things start to fall into alignment. And now I'm really feeling that coming together. So certainly, yeah, do use that wheel of life and look at that part that maybe is calling to have that little bit of nurturing, that bit of focus, and whether a little bit or even a big bit of focus, complete focus, you know, it will help the rest of that wheel of life and those other areas in your life. So yeah, certainly. So that's something that everybody could do on that, even on a daily basis, just looking at it, that area, revisit it, or even weekly, go back to it, that area that you're focusing on, even if it's just for this month, just looking at it. And then obviously make that shift next month or the next season. What's there? What's wanting to come out?
Yeah. That, I mean, that is so profound. A lot of what you were I mean, there's so much that you were talking about. And I think what's really that, that really resonated, the money part, right? The money part, the separating out, and, you know, the post-its moving around and coming to a realization. Oh, one, I can live my business as I go along. It can evolve as I go along, which means it's constantly birthing itself as I go along, right?
Yeah.
And then the other was when we were, what was it? Oh yeah, basically looking at this, at what really needs to be birthed, right? Focusing it on setting that intention and recognizing the moment we set an intention, we shut a door to one thing and we open a door to another. That's how intentions work. So that was really, a lot of resonating there, and I loved that. And yes, at the same time, thinking about, you know, all the other aspects of our rebirth or our birthing of ourself. And we talked about the bees and the being, and how are we being? And you were saying, and living, right? So if we're being is living, right?
Yeah.
So we can, and I'm really just leaning into the idea: how do we live that metaphor in a way? How do we be that metaphor so that we can have the fruits of the results at the end, the fruit of our labor, or the fruit of our desire, or longing, which we have. Yeah. So yeah, that's what was really resonating for me. And yeah, I went kind of very contemplative as you were talking, because they were like seeds just dropping in to some fertile soil, waiting for the next load. But definitely thinking about that, and I suppose what I was really thinking in the idea is, before we start anything, it's about one, yes, getting getting a real depth of the desire and and how, you know, it mustn't just be on a surface level. It needs to be a real gut feeling that's going to tell us, hey, this is what I really want, and nothing else will do. Anything better might do, but nothing else is nothing. That's that old thing. But also the structural aspect of that, which is, what do I need to do away with? What do I need to change, in the sense of what do I need to chop away? So I think that was what was kind of really resonating when I was thinking about, with our finances. And I had that realization when I finally had a different bank account. And that was like a real big thing for me, because yes, when you're in employment, that's not the first thing you think about. And most of us that are empaths or that go into business don't start with doing that right at the very beginning. Often we don't go into business management classes to start off with. We just kind of get into doing self-employed stuff, and then, hey, presto, many years later, we're still doing that and going, oh, why haven't I done that? How come? But you really are entangled And so it takes a real bit of mind thinking to separate them out. But then you can think about how it must be in a relationship, right? How that can be when we don't set the contracts for the relationship, how entangled all our old behaviors get to be, so that when we want to rebirth and we want to change, it can be quite challenging, certainly for other partners, our partners and our children and the rest of the family. And the only way to really even begin is we have to be really clear, have a real intention, and then start with those very living that intention, in the sense of, okay, this is what I'm going to have to do. This is the first step, and it may be very, very tiny, but that you start that first step. It may just be having gentle conversations first before you've even made a full decision or a full put your stake in the ground. But these are all really important when we are in relationships, particularly, and given that we are talking about relationships here, I think it's really important to bring this in, that when we do change, others around us are going to find it interesting. They might find it challenging. They might get actively upset about it. And they might be, and depending on who they are, they may be absolutely thrilled. It just depends, but we have to navigate that. And so it's really recognizing, if we want, the rebirth can cause a lot of an uprising for a lot of people, a rebirthing of some of their stuff. So yeah, so I'm just sort of, I probably would just really say, be gentle, approach it gently to start. Definitely don't go full on and want to rebirth the whole thing straight away. Do it slowly, do it gently, do it with compassion, and understand others are not going to be where you are right now, and it often needs you to pace them. And yeah, of course, if that's what you want, if you want to keep the relationship, if you want to enrich it in some way, if you think it's worthwhile, yeah, then that's what you're going to have to do. Yeah, that's what I was leaning into and thinking about. We often just think, oh, we're going to just rebirth ourselves, but we forget that we live within a system, right? We're living with a system, so we need to be very mindful of the moment we move into different things. We're part of that balance. How do we shift the balance in a way that doesn't cause too much disruption, especially to those we love?
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's true, Shireen. It's that's a deep. That's very deep.
I just kind of had this kind of, oh, you need to think about this. This is really important because often when we want to change and we into the rebirth, we're here and we're in this very first person, and we forget what it feels like for other people, especially in relationships, people that are close to us, and we're up here and they're over here, and they're kind of seeing the difference so starkly, because you're now at night and day, right? Yeah. And that's part of our responsibility as well, as changes, as the bringer of the change.
Yeah, it's part of our responsibilities to actually make sure that we get the other person involved in our world. But then the question now is, some people fear the change in relationship. They don't want the change. So how do you then go from there? Because you can't hold on to, because when Jesus was resurrected, the disciples and Jesus's family, they had to be prepared for the change that was coming and that had come to them. So now to us as people, how do we then get prepared for that? Because when rebirth comes, like Carol Anna, you chose this topic when things had to be changed. They have to be changed. But how do you deal with that fear? When the fear knocks in and say, oh no, you can't do that.
Yeah. And it's recognizing their fear is, wow, they may be feeling they're losing you, they're losing control over you, that everything's changing, and they don't have the same power, or
or
they feel like
resources.
they're losing you in some way. And it's recognizing that it's not actually about you, it's about them and where they're at, and having compassion for that, but also making a stand for you are changing, your life is growing. And I think it's then having that conversation with the other person. Well, look, this is what's happening, and being open and asking, well, what's there for them?
Yeah.
And do they, want to grow as well, or what's their dreams? And, it doesn't mean that their dreams have to go on hold or whatever. It's having the conversations about what those fears are, and really laying it on the line. Has the relationship come to the end of the line because you're both going in different directions? One wants to grow and one doesn't, or, or are you both on a growth path? You're both willing to grow. And it just takes that conversation that actually one growing can help the other, and you do it together. It comes back to communication, which we've talked about many times, and having those conversations. But definitely, one of, in a relationship, one partner could get quite fearful. I know, I've seen it happen where, somebody's growing and the other person just starts behaving in a way that holds them back and says, well, no, you can't do that. Or they start being really aggressive, or other behaviors come out, and it's the child within. And actually, it's not the adult, it's their child within. There was some inner child that has been triggered. And maybe there's a fear of abandonment. There's a fear of not being loved anymore or something. And it's going and actually talking with that inner child and getting to know and reassure that actually the intention isn't to abandon you or to not love you anymore. But actually there is the desire to grow here. And we either grow together or we don't. I mean, there really has to be, and that sounds a bit ultimatumish, doesn't it? So it's dealing, it's for me, I guess it comes down to the bottom line is that ultimatum, but it's actually framing it and putting it in such a way that it's not such a, aggressive feel to it. It's discussing it so that you really get clear on each other's desires and wants, and maybe there's some compromise that maybe you can develop to a certain point, but then maybe hold still for a bit, let the other person come together with you. And I don't know, it's for you to discuss how you want to do it, but it's also saying, well, at the end of the day, I am here. I have a duty, or a duty to myself to fully blossom. And to be honest, for me, it's a duty to God and the universe for me to fully blossom and be and do what it is who I'm meant to be and what I'm meant to do here in this lifetime. So again, it's like, I think there's a beautiful question. What does becoming look like for you right now? And it's not about in 5 years' time or 10 years' time. It's about right now, this month. So that's the question I think I would like our listeners to really be asking themselves. What does becoming look like for you right now?
Yeah, I think that's profound. I think that is the key here. That's the hub of this whole conversation, I think.
Yeah.
And I think, one of the things that really did resonate for me, and yes, I suppose I'm thinking in terms of when we are making that commitment, when we're looking at God and we're going, yes, this is my commitment to God, this is my, I think we must also at the same time recognize that there is an aspect of ourselves that might judge other people for not coming up in the same way. And I think it's really about truly understanding what someone can be, even if they're not striving. They could just be there, the rock of support that's constantly saying, darling, I want you to keep going, right? I'm here to hold you. That's what all my job is, And I think that it's really important that we don't undervalue somebody who may not necessarily want to be pulling up on the reins in the same way we may, but they may just be that rock that helps us and gives us that home of safety for us to be able to springboard and to be there. And they do the whole housework and they do this and they do that and they take charge of the stuff, like, the basic needs part. And the rest is us, right? And I think it's really important to be aware of that too, because so many people throw away very good relationships because they haven't there's this expectation about what moving forward is. And actually, I think I'm not convinced that it's just striving. I think as it is, it's about this being state where we really are in the true feminine aspect. We are here and we're able to navigate all these kinds of relationships, and so that nobody feels left out in any way or nobody feels undermined. They just go, oh, okay, that's what I really want to do for you. And you just feel like the queen that moves forward. I think that's something we need to just focus in on very carefully for ourselves. And I think, and that does require a bit more, reflection and self-reflection and stuff like that. But I think that question of who am I being right now? Who am I becoming right now in this moment in time? Who am I rebirthing on a daily basis? I think that question is such an important question. And what does it look like, right? What does it look like for me? And how do I evidence that really clearly? Okay, maybe I jump out of bed. I do those. I saw something, and someone said the first 3 things you can do is jump out of bed and say hello to yourself, right? It could be as simple as that. Hello, Sherry, you've arrived to the day, all right? It could be something as simple as that, but it's enough to be a really good transformational tool right at the very beginning. I think Mel, what's her name? Robbins that does it. Is it not Mel Robbins? What's her name? Mel something. I'm sure it's Mel Robbins. But yeah, when basically she gives that one thing that changed her life was just standing up and here I am today. And then after a little while, you start to put another routine in, a little routine that just adds and incrementally brings more and more power into your day. And then, like I go, here I am, and who am I bringing with me? Is it really
nice.
another way, right? Who am I bringing? Whatever they are, I want them with me too.
Yes, and Shireen, when you touched that, like if someone does not want to change with us, I think when you grow, you're no longer interested in undermining no one. You want your energy to motivate others. And the rest is like myself when I'm going through this journey of consecrating myself. I'm no longer interested to any stories that wants to like pull me backwards. I'm just interested in seeing someone growing. And if they're not ready at that moment, I celebrate them and tell myself that they'll catch up with me. So I'm not in a place where I'm looking people down. I'm in a place where I've got to concentrate on like helping others, or if they're not ready, I just rebirth myself or continue rebirthing myself. Sometimes changing, growing, it makes people uncomfortable, but that's okay as well. You have to be okay about it and just be ready to take your life to the next level. I think that's what rebirthing means. It's like every day life is a miracle. So I want to grab that miracle that is in front of me. And I like you, Carol Ann, when you said your business is tangled in everything. And I think everything has a timing. It's when that time it comes, people are ready. God has put people in every place to take you up. When you're ready, you're not ready. So yeah, I think our audience have to just work on rebirthing, and because sometimes people focus on people, why this person, you don't understand me, I'm trying to change my life and stuff. You don't do that. You just focus on changing your life. Even if it's your spouse, I'm afraid you just have to let them be. And just because when you're changing, upsetting others, it's no longer changing. So you just have to let people be. And one day they come to you and say, what are you doing different? So I can do it myself. Then you'll be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. It's 10 past, ladies.
All right.
Yes.
Yes. So just leave our audience with actually something you said, Shireen, and something it actually reiterated something you said, Nomsa, removing expectations, not having expectations. Because you mentioned that earlier, Nomsa, and Shireen, that came in what you were just saying about that expectation that somebody has to grow with you, but allowing them to be in the place that they're at, because maybe that is this where they're meant to be to support you. So again, I just clock that, yeah, let go of expectations of how things should be, how other people should be, or even how you should be, and allow this blossoming to happen in its own perfect timing, because it does have its perfect timing. And as you said, Nomsa, God places people around you and they get in place at the right and proper time. And I found, things couldn't have happened before, certain things. It was because, oh my gosh,
We weren't ready.
that wasn't in place before, And it's exactly like when we moved into this place nearly 8 years ago, I think now. And we couldn't move in before because it was only the month before that the new owners had bought it and done it up. So it wasn't on the market 6 months before when we were first looking for anywhere to move to, So everything is being sorted out and you just have to self-trust that. So again, it's trusting the process. And this beautiful proverb, just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, it became a butterfly.
Yeah.
So just remember, that darkest time, that, just before the birth, that it's just like, it can happen. Just trust. So what would you like to leave our listeners with?
Well, I'm just going to go back to your caterpillar one there. I'll just dovetail on you.
Yeah.
And really say, for a caterpillar, what does a caterpillar do? It goes into a cocoon. Like the winter, it actually breaks down completely into just its component parts. It doesn't just become a new being. But what happens is it totally reforms into something new before it gets rebirthed as the butterfly. So there's information in the sense of we've got to break down the old structures. We've got to break away from the old being that we were in order to become the new being that we are wanting to be. And I think that to be reborn, we need to have broken down first to get that. When I say broken down, it's about changing old patterns. It's about changing old beliefs, old ways of being, and moving into the new. But it can be, we are restructuring ourselves completely when we do that. We take away one neural connection and we form a new one. So I think that's a very profound statement. So yeah, breaks down first before it becomes something, but it always knows what it's going to become. Which means that deep down our yearning has always been there from the very, very beginning. And most of us will know where we belong when we realize it. Yeah, we go, oh, why did I not get there so far? Some of us take years. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, ladies. And those who are watching, guys, please do join our group. We have 2 groups on Facebook, Ngozi Talk Shows and Unique Billionaire Mindset. And please follow us on YouTube. And Ngozi Talk Shows as well page, please do follow. And the website is www.hseia.coach. And sign up if you're looking for love, or if you're looking for coaching, please do sign up. And yeah, and also please do share the video for us with your families. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I am with Grant and Amanda.